All right. So this is part two. All right. The rest of Exodus, the 12th chapter. All right. So I'm going to go into it. All right. So here we go. So this is the book of Exodus, chapter 12, starting at verse 29. Now the Lord is about to, send the last and final plague upon Egypt, man. All right. It's about to go down. Exodus 12, starting at verse 29. And it came to pass, you know something? Man? You know, think about that. The ancient Egypt, all right, there was a series of plagues. And in the last plague, when the last plague happened, Jake was let go out of Egypt. Jake left up out of Egypt, right? But now, in his new Egypt, was one of the plagues, was one of the things that's going to happen, all right, upon this new Egypt. Well, Zechariah 14 and 12 tells you, it says, this shall be the, roughly paraphrasing, this shall be the plague with Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai will smite all the people that have fought against Israel, pretty much, roughly paraphrasing, going to the nuclear missiles. And when that happens, the elect of Israel are coming up out of not only this new Egypt, but all across the world. All right. So this is the book of Exodus, chapter 12, starting at verse 29. And it came to pass that at midnight, Yahweh, Hashem Yahweh Shai, smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants, and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. You see? So, like we read in the chapter Exodus 11, where the Lord was just telling Moses that this was going to be the last and final plague upon Egypt. All right. Now we just read the part where it actually happened, where where it was going on. Okay. And once again, this angel that death angel, that came and smote the firstborn. All right. This was that was Yahweh Shai. So now let's prove that. This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18. Starting at the top. All right, give me 1 second. Babaku Shah. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18, starting at verse 1. Nevertheless, thy saints, also proves the saints are the Israelites. Nevertheless, thy saints had a very great light, whose voice they hearing and not seeing their shape, because they also had not suffered the same things, they counted them happy. Salakia. Verse 2, but for that they did not hurt them now, of whom they had been wrong before. They thanked them and besought them pardon, for that they had been enemies. Verse 3. It says, instead whereof thou gavest them a burning pillar of fire, both to be a guide of the unknown journey, and an harmless sun to entertain them honorably. All right. And that burning pillar of fire, okay, is talking about a tractor beam from the chariot of the Lord, which actually looks in shape, to a pillar. Okay, I'm gonna get a side by side in a minute, or get it in a minute. All right, but that tractor beam, that was a tractor beam from a so-called UFO. All right, which the so-called UFOs are actually the chariots of the Lord, and the holy angels, ride in those vehicles. Okay, someone on the outside listening in, don't know about the truth, and say, well, what? That sound, they might, think I'm crazy or something, but no, this is actually truth. Okay, And when Yahushua comes back to this earth and makes his second return, everybody's going to see him. All right? You already see him now, but you're really going to see him in that day. Okay? But it says, instead whereof thou gavest them a burning pillar of fire. You know, because look, let's check it out. Let me just check something real quick. All right. Yeah, so when you look at a pillar, right? Let's just look at, I feel like let's look at a track. Let's look at a pillar first. Pillar. All right. You see? You know, it runs from top to bottom, right? Vertically, up and down, right? Now, keep that image in your head. Now, when we look at, matter of fact, I think I could do like this. Yeah. Now, let's just type this in, tractor beam, UFO. You see? And you know, see the tractor beam from the UFO. All right. A tractor beam from the UFO goes up and down. Okay. You know, and it's not only. So you let me make this point first. So you see how the tractor beam and the pillar look the same, man. All right, just letting you know that this is a so-called UFO. That was a so-called UFO that guided us Israelites through the wilderness back during the time of Exodus, man. All right. And there's other scriptures that talk about, you know, the so-called UFOs within the Bible as well. All right, but let me continue. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18, verse 3. Again, it says, instead whereof thou gavest them a burning pillar of fire, both to be a guide of the unknown journey, and an harmless sun to entertain them honorably. Verse 4, for they were worthy to be deprived of light and imprisoned in darkness, who kept thy sun shut up. You know, in the day, it's talking about the Egyptians. You know, and then it says, who had kept thy sun shut up. You know, the Egyptians, they slaved us Israelites. They enslaved us. You know, those Hamites, you know, see, once again, you know, they're not our friends. All right, they're a heathen nation. They're part of another heathen nation, man. They're not Israelites. All right, they're not our friends. Okay. Wisdom of Solomon 18 and 4. For they were worthy to be deprived of light and imprisoned in darkness, who had kept thy sun shut up, by whom the uncorrupt light of the law was to be given unto the world. All right, and Salaki, and that world is talking about Israel. All right. Verse 5. And when they had determined to slay the babes of the saints, one child, and when did they determine to slay the babes of the saints? Okay. And actually, I'm going to jump down a little bit after this, more willing. But let me just make this point since I'm here. You go back to Exodus, the first chapter, in verses 15 through 16, it says, and the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. All right? So you see, this is when this has happened. But and who are they trying to kill? You know, Israelite children. All right? So, well, let me read that again. Let me look at something. You know, well, specifically Israelite men, they were trying to kill the men. All right, you know, Israelite babies that were men or males. You know, Wisdom of Solomon 18 and 5. And when they had determined to slay the babes of the saints, another thing, also showing that the Israelites are the saints. Okay, it says one child being cast forth, talking about Moses, and saved to reprove them, thou tookest away the multitude of their children and destroys them altogether in a mighty water. All right. And I'm gonna jump down because I forgot that the point isn't the point I'm looking for doesn't the point I'm looking for ain't right here. It's down a little further. All right, so Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18, starting at verse 13. All right, through 19. So I'm gonna highlight it so you can see what I'm reading. All right, and it says, "For whereas they would not believe anything by reason of the enchantments upon the destruction of the firstborn, they acknowledge this people to be the sons of Yahweh." So I'm going to read it again. "For whereas they would not believe anything by reason of the enchantments upon the destruction of the firstborn, they acknowledge this people to be the sons of Yahweh." So the Egyptians, the Egyptians, they wouldn't believe, all the wondrous acts Moses did, all right, because they had the magic that they trusted in, all right. They had magic and they trusted in that, all right. But when the Egyptians, firstborn started dying, then they acknowledged us Israelites are the sons of Yahweh, all right. That's that when they firstborn started dying, then they acknowledged us to be the sons of Yahweh. All right, verse 14. "Where all things were in quiet silence, and that night was in the midst of her swift course, thine almighty word leaped down from heaven." This is talking about that night that the firstborn, the night of the night Moses had told. Well, it's like the night of the firstborns were to die. Okay, it says for all things were in quiet silence, and that night was in the midst of her swift course. Thine almighty word leaped down from heaven, out of thy royal throne, as a fierce man of war, into the midst of a land of destruction. Who's the word? So like this, let's go precept upon precept. St. John 1:1. "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with the Most High," or with the Elohim. All right, and the Word was an Allah, or power. Elohim means powers. All right, and it says, "And the Word was a power," because God means power. The Hebrew word for God is Allah, AHLA. All right, and it means power. Okay, the same was in the beginning with the Elohim, verse 3. "All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made." Okay? And all things were made by him, and not anything was made and without him was not anything made that was made. Right? Shalakia. Let me get a precept now. Matter of fact, I'm going to get a precept. So it says all things are made by him, right? So now let's get a name. Colossians 1, and let's see who's talking about. Let's go even further. Just to really prove. Colossians chapter 1, starting verse 12 through 16, to get some context. "Giving thanks unto the Father," who's the Father? Yahweh, right? "Which hath made us meet to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in light, who hath delivered us from the power of darkness, and hath translated us to the kingdom of his dear Son." Who is the Son of Yahweh? Yahweh Shai. So now it's talking about Yahweh Shai, right? "In whom we have redemption through his blood." Whose blood? Yahweh Shai's blood. "Even the forgiveness of sins." Who is the image of the invisible power, the firstborn of every creature. Verse 16. "For by him," by who? By Yahweh Shai, "were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him." So Yahweh Shai is the word. So now we go back to Wisdom of Solomon 18. In verse 15, it says, "Thine almighty word leaped down from heaven, out of thy royal throne. So just talking about Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai was that death angel that killed all those, that killed those firstborn. All right. Salakia says, as a fierce man of war into the midst of a land of destruction, and brought thine unfeigned commandment as a sharp sword, and standing up filled all things with death, and it touched the heaven, but it stood upon the earth. Slakia. Says, then suddenly visions of horrible dreams troubled them sore, and terrors came upon them unlooked for. And one thrown here, and another there, half dead, showed the cause of his death. For the dreams that troubled them did foreshow this, lest they should perish and not know why they were afflicted. All right? So Yahweh Shai was that death angel, that was killing the firstborns, okay, of Egypt. All right? So Exodus 12 and 29, and it came to pass that at midnight Yahweh smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants. Bear with me 1 second. It says, and Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, and there was not a house where there was not one dead. Verse 31. So like it says, and he called for Moses and Aaron by night, and said, rise up and get you forth from among my people, both ye and the children of Israel, and go, serve Yahweh as ye have said. Also take your flocks and your herds as ye have said, and be gone, and bless me also. All right. So now Pharaoh is finally letting Jake go. Finally. All right. Okay. Remember 1 second. But you see in verse 30, it says, and Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house, there was not one dead. It said it was a great cry in Egypt, man. So this shows you that the Passover represents mass death and salvation. You see? So this is a serious time. Yeah, this is a serious time, man. Verse 31, and he called for Moses and Aaron by night and said, rise up, get you forth from among my people. All right, so I read this part. So now, verse 31 on down, the Exodus begins. You see they put it here, Exodus of Israel. All right. But the Exodus is starting the beginning. Once again, the word Exodus, all right. Exodus. It says the meaning is a mass departure of people, especially immigrants. And it says the departure of Israelites from Egypt. All right. Okay. So Exodus means a mass departure of people. All right. In the second Exodus is coming. When Yahweh Shai returns and beams up his elect of the nation of Israel. That's another lesson. All right. The word Exodus on the Etymology Online Dictionary, get right to the point. It says from Ex, meaning out, and Hodos, meaning away. So a way out. So this is a way, path, road, ride, journey, march, So a way out, And it says departure from a place. So it says especially the migration of large bodies of people or animals from one country or region to another. All right. That's what Exodus means. So it means, a departure of people pretty much. All right. or departure from a place. Okay? You know, and the Lord is going to deliver his elect. He's going to beam them up. Let me get that. It's the book of Matthew, chapter 24, starting at verse 30 to 31. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man, Yahushai, coming in the clouds of heaven, coming with those so-called UFOs. Once again, everybody going to see this. It says, with power and great glory, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. So from all over the earth, you know, the Lord is going to gather his elect, all right, into a chariot, all right. I believe is, you know, the other Chazak brought out saying, you know, one big chariot, all right. Salaki if I'm wrong if he didn't say that. All right, Salaki, okay. But Lord, I'm gonna just say, you know, the Lord gonna beam up his elect from all over the world, man. You know, into the so-called, you know, UFO. All right, and that's the Exodus. Okay. But continuing on, back in Exodus, Salakia. Back in the book of Exodus, chapter 12, and verse 32. No, verse 33. It says, and the Egyptians were urging upon the people that they might send them out of the land in haste, for they said, we be all dead men. Verse 34, and the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading troughs before Salaki being bound up in their clothes upon their shoulders. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment. And Yahweh gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians. Salakia. All right. Verse 37, and the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot that were men, beside children. And a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough, and they baked unleavened cakes of the dough, which they brought forth out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt and could not tarry, neither had they prepared for themselves any victual. Verse 40, now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years. The sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years. And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the self-same day came to pass that all the hosts of Yahweh went out from the land of Egypt. Verse 42, it is a night. Dang. Salakia, Exodus 12. So Jake was in Egypt for 430 years. All right. Exodus 12 and 42. Now it says, ordinance of the Passover. It is a night to be much observed unto Yahweh for bringing them out from the land of Egypt. This is that night of Yahweh to be observed of all the children of Israel in their generations. Okay. And also, by the way, Salakia, certain scripture that give me 1 second. Let me just see something. But yeah, you know, pretty much, you know, there's a scripture that goes into how the Passover. All right, for the Passover, you know, you're not supposed to appear empty. So, nobody's supposed to appear empty. All right, so, you know, when you're having the Passover, you know, with, you know, brothers, okay, and things like that, you know, let me just use brothers, all right? When you're having the Passover, with argument things, man, everybody has to bring something, okay? One person or two people can't just be getting everything for the Passover, all right? And everybody else doesn't do anything. Everybody has to bring something, to put in, for this Passover, okay? Or for the Passover, for the High Holy Day, whether it be the bitter herbs, plates, napkins, spoons, forks, the lamb, once again, the bitter herbs, or, the unleavened bread, the wine, all right? Everyone's supposed to, bring something, all right? So this Exodus 12, continuing in verse 43, and Yahweh said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. All right? And the word stranger, all right, the word stranger in the Hebrew here is nakar. All right, Strong's 5236. The Hebrew word is nakar. It says foreign, alien. Foreign is that which is foreign. So this is talking about a heathen. All right, someone who's not an Israelite. All right. Exodus 12:44. But every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. A foreigner and an hired servant shall not eat thereof. In one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth anything, aught of the flesh abroad out of the house. It says, neither shall ye break a bone thereof. All right. So no bones are broken of the animal eaten for Passover. All right. And don't bring flesh from the animal from one house to another. All right. Verse 47. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. Verse 48. And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee and will keep the Passover to Yahweh, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. And this stranger, all right, this one is going into an Israelite, all right. Hebrew word here is gar. Strong's H1616, gar. Sojourner, temporary inhabitant, a newcomer lacking inherited rights. All right. It's going into that's an Israelite. All right. You see, so it's important to look up words so you can get the better understanding. Like as our apostles and elders of Great Millstone teach us, man. All right. So Exodus 12:48, and when a stranger shall sojourn with thee and will keep the Passover to Yahweh, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it, and he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. Verse 49, one law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. Verse 50, thus did all the children of Israel, as Yahweh commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass the selfsame day that Yahweh did bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their armies. Okay. So that was the rest of Exodus, the 12th chapter. Though willing, it was edifying. All right, and I still want to do a couple more chapters, over the course of the next couple of days. While we're in the Passover and in the feast of unleavened bread. All right, so Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. I want to give all the praises, honor, and glory to whom rightfully belongs, which is Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, ever well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect. Peace is the Hebrew shalom, so shalom to the elect.